It appears that yet another journalist has been detained, an independent journalist who you may be familiar with if you follow geopolitics or if you've been following the genocide in Gaza. It appears that Ali Abunimah, he is the executive director of Electric Intifada. They have done exceptional work in geopolitics. He has been detained in Switzerland. I want to go ahead and get into this story here. Let's bring this up. This is from the Jerusalem Post. We're going to show you two different postings here, the one from Jerusalem Post and, of course, the one from Electric Intifada. It says that director of anti-Israel Electric Intifada arrested in Switzerland after entry ban. So does everybody see what's happening here just right off the bat? They're describing Ali as anti-Israel, right? Because if you're pro-Palestinian, of course, Israel or anyone that is pro-Israel, they are smearing you as anti-Israel because you can't be pro-Palestinian. So let's see what happened to Ali. This is a picture of Ali here. You may be familiar with him again. Like if you follow Gray Zone, you're familiar with Electric Intifada, Mondo Weiss, etc. But this happened over the weekend. This will be Monday when you see this video. Make this a little bit bigger. It says that Ali Abunimah, the executive director of the anti-Israel online publication, The Electric Intifada, was arrested by Swiss police ahead of an event in Zurich, according to both the L and Swiss news site NZZ. Abunimah entered Switzerland on Friday, where he was questioned by the police before being allowed to enter the country. So they stopped him before he could enter. The Electric Intifada then reported that American Palestinian Abunimah was arrested a day later at 2 p.m. on Saturday and is currently being detained with access to legal counsel. So he's not here, right? Like, so he's not in the US and they have detained him. In a statement, the Electric Intifada said Abunimah's arrest appears to be part of growing backlash from Western governments against expressions of solidarity with the Palestinian people. Last year, several activists and journalists in Britain were arrested, raided, or charged using counter-terror powers. These include Aisha Winstanley, an associate editor with the Electric Intifada, whose home was raided and his computers and phones seized. So Asha has not been charged with any crime. So just keep in mind, this is not the first member of Electric Intifada to have to deal with law enforcement because they are pro-Palestinian and because a lot of their journalism focuses on what's happening in Gaza. So they're targeting specific people. Like I said before, the Electric Intifada team stands in solidarity with Ali. Speaking out against injustice in Palestine is not a crime. Journalism is not a crime. 100%. Now, I want you to hear the way that they describe this. It says that NZZ added that the Zurich police had been notified of Abunimah's planned appearance and submitted a request to the Swiss Federal Office of Police that he be banned, which was granted. So much for Switzerland being neutral, huh? I guess they're neutral until it comes to Israel, right? So it goes on to say here, to move this over just a tad here, if I can. Well, let me move it over. Yeah, there we go. What is the Electric Intifada? Government counsel and head of department security, Mario Fair, told NZZ that Abunimah is forbidden to travel to Zurich, adding, "We do not want an Islamist Jew hater who calls for violence in Switzerland." So that is not what Ali is. But I told you guys before, what they're doing is that they're calling people who are pro-Palestinian, they're calling them either anti-Semitic or anti-Israel. I want to remind you again that Palestinians are Semites. So it's just, they're trying so many different angles so that Israel can get their way. The federal police can ban entry to people deemed a threat to Swiss security, either internal or external. Again, Ali is not a threat. The Electric Intifada self-describes as an independent online news publication and educational resource focusing on Palestine. The Jerusalem Post reported an anti-Israel statements Abu Nima had made in the past, in which he stated that Zionism is one of the worst forms of anti-Semitism in existence today, and that support for Zionism is not atonement for the Holocaust, but its continuation in spirit. So do you see? You can't criticize that because he's criticizing Zionism, right? I have interviewed people who are Jewish that are very much anti-Zionist. Katie Halper has been on the show when she's talked about this. Miko Palid, who is Israeli American, has been on the show when he's talked about this. So this is where they're going now. Like, if you criticize Zionism, which is not Judaism, people need to stop conflating the two. If you criticize that, they're calling you anti-Israel, whatever. Zionism is a racist ideology. People have to understand that. It goes on to say he has also continually praised Hamas and Islamic jihadist attacks on Israel as resistance. Okay, if you're occupied and you're trying to fight back against your oppressors, what would you call that, right? Now, there is no doubt that Hamas did kill people on October 7th, and we've never doubted that on the show. We've never said that didn't happen on this show. But to sit here and pretend like these people are just supposed to be occupied and oppressed is ridiculous. On Saturday, oh, here's the other one. This is another one. This is what I think they really have a problem with. Abu Nima has previously tweeted there is no credible evidence of a single, sexual assault on October 7th. And it's not just Electric Intifada, but also Monda Weiss and the Gray Zone have reported this as well. They were the first to come forward with the story. Later on, we saw that Ryan Grimm also provided information about this. And now there is recent news that has come from other publications to show that there is no evidence that occurred on October 7th. So once again, independent media was ahead of the curve. They knew they didn't have evidence. This was just another way to try to get some type of public sympathy for Israel. And it didn't work because the reality is people didn't buy it. On Saturday, Thomas Patsko, a board member of Never Again Is Now, a nonprofit organization dedicated to combating anti-Semitism, said Abu Nima and his platform are a mouthpiece for Hamas. On social media, he shares content from the armed wing of Hamas and he mourns its martyrs. So this is interesting because he's admitting that they are martyrs. So that's interesting. And then also, every corporate news outlet has also shared images and content of Hamas. So across the board with geopolitics, they've been sharing that. Some have come out in support of Abu Nima on Twitter, declaring his arrest is an attack on free speech. Speaking out against injustice in Palestine is not a crime. Journalism is not a crime. So again, if you're just joining, we are talking about Ali. He is the executive director of Electric Intifada. He has been detained in Switzerland, abroad. And I have to say this before we get to the comment here from Electric Intifada. The reality is there is an attack on free speech. There is an attack on journalists, independent investigative journalists. Listen, all we have to do is go back to Julian Assange, right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Look at what they did to Julian Assange when he revealed that the U.S. government was committing war crimes. That was supposed to be a no-no. The rest of the world was not supposed to know about that. And they said, we're going to make him punished. Now, luckily, Julian Assange has had the opportunity to be released from Belmarsh prison, and he is back home in Australia with his family. But Julian Assange still has not been pardoned. And I know that his family members have reached out to the Biden administration to try to get that to happen. That did not happen. I believe he should be pardoned. So there's that. But the reality is, yes, it is an attack on free speech. Yes, they are trying to silence any criticism of Israel, especially that if that criticism has far reach, right? So Electric Intifada does really great work. And I worry, it was just a couple of days ago, we were talking about Sam Husseini, who was dragged out of a Blinken press conference for asking a question about the Hannibal Directive. And because Matt Miller didn't like that question, they decided to drag him out, against his will. This is what happens when journalists ask tough questions. Like, he's a journalist. That is his job. And if the other journalists in that room would have been doing their job, then they would have to drag all of them out. You see where I'm coming with it? So the reality is that we are at a serious risk in this country right now where, and not just in this country apparently, but where there is a serious crackdown on free speech. There is a serious crackdown against anybody who is speaking out against the State Department. And it may have started maybe with Julian Assange, but we're seeing it happen to so many other people. Ali is there to do his job. Ali is not a threat. So when the right, even on the right, when they say that we want free speech and we support free speech, then you should support free speech for Ali too. See, this is where the thing comes in, because supporting Israel and you say you support free speech, you should support free speech across the board, 100% across the board, whether it's something you agree with or not. That's something that needs to be consistent on both sides. And I have not seen that consistent on both sides. So the Electric Intifada comes in. They're also reporting, of course, Electric Intifada Ali Abu Nima arrested in Switzerland. And again, there's a picture of Ali there. And they added a little bit more information where they said here that he was on a speaking tour. So that's why he was going to Zurich in the first place. And to me, it doesn't really matter why he was going there. He shouldn't have been detained, period. When he arrived at the airport on Friday, Abu Nima was questioned by the police for an hour before being allowed to enter the country. Abu Nima's arrest appears to be part of the growing backlash from Western governments against expressions of solidarity with the Palestinian people. So, yeah, and they said, again, journalism is not a crime. Please support Electric Intifada, you guys. They do amazing work. And Ali should not be in jail right now. Free Ali, for real, right? But this isn't the first time that a country tried to silence him. Germany tried to silence him as well. I want to show you this as a reminder. Ali shared this on Twitter before. This was shared July 26th of 2024. We're not going to play the entire video, but I do want you to hear part of it. It said that he was being threatened by German authorities with prison and fines. So not just Switzerland, Germany. Listen to this.
Hello, everyone. Earlier today, I received a notice from the German authorities informing me that I'm prohibited from speaking to you today and threatening me with criminal penalties, including fines and up to 1 year in prison if I defy this order. Here it is. It's actually 15 pages long. Obviously, since I'm in the United States, I'm beyond the jurisdiction of the Berlin regime. I assume that they could still open a criminal proceeding against me in Germany and try to harass me in that manner. But whether I were physically in Germany or not, my response would be exactly the same. I do not take orders from a regime that is an accomplice in genocide. And I take inspiration from the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who wrote in 1963, while he was jailed in Birmingham, Alabama for civil disobedience against the white supremacist regime here in the United States, he wrote the following, and I quote, "There are just laws and there are unjust laws. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only a legal but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws." End of quote. And of course, I take inspiration from that, and I'm solely responsible for my choice. No one else is responsible for my actions. You may recall that I was supposed to join you virtually in April to speak at the Palestine Congress in Berlin. But of course, as we all know, the jackbooted thugs of the Berlin regime raided the conference, cut off the electricity, and shut it down in the most brutal and authoritarian manner. They imposed an entry ban on the great Dr. Hassan Abu Sittah, who had spent 43 days treating victims of the German-backed Zionist genocide in Gaza. But the Berlin regime stopped him at the airport and deported him. because I had not planned to travel to Germany in person myself in April. We were not sure if the Berlin regime had also imposed a similar ban on me. But in recent weeks, with the help of a lawyer, we determined that, in fact, the Berlin regime did also impose a political ban on me and a travel ban, which they have now renewed.
So as you guys can see, last year, Germany also, wanted to ban Ali as well. So it's not just Switzerland. They really don't want the message to get out, right? And there's no way that, if anybody with common sense, there's no way that you can look around and not see what Israel is doing and not see this as a problem and not say that it's wrong. And I don't think that anybody should use religion as an excuse. And this is another thing, like I said before, religion is not law. Religion is a belief. And it's really interesting to me that the same people that will tell you that we have separation of church and state in this country and yada, yada, yada. If you know that, then you should support that same, mindset when it comes to the Palestinians and the Israelis in the Middle East. I don't believe in religious states, regardless of what the religion is. I don't believe in that. I think that should not be law of the land. And I think people should be free to practice whatever religion that they want to. And you see how Israel is trying to use both. They're trying to use the religion. We have the religious aspect of the land, so we're supposed to have it. And then also, of course, we're Israelis, we're Zionists, and that's something to be proud of. And people like me and Ali are here to tell you, no, like, this is wrong. What they're doing is wrong. So it was Germany, and now it's Switzerland. And all I can say to you guys is please, 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 again, support Electric Intifada. They do tremendous work. And then also share this with people. If everyone's not aware that another journalist has been detained once again. So free speech is at risk. And regardless of where you stand on the political aisle, everybody should support free speech, and everybody should support that Ali should be released. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.